Hello, everyone. Welcome to the When at Work podcast. You're with Julian Leahy, and today I'm joined by the very interesting Stephen Bates from London-ish, UK. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Hey, thanks very much for having me. I mean, very interesting. I like that. I've never been called that before. So thanks for that.
Yes, well, now the pressure's on, isn't it, to not be boring?
Absolutely, better be now.
And we're going to talk about a couple of things that I liked that you're into. And one is about self-sabotage with solopreneurs, which I think is a big problem. And the other one, maybe if we've got time, is how you go from being a solopreneur to actually having people that are going to help you and that you can delegate things to. So do you want to kick it off about self-sabotage?
Yeah, well, I'll give you a bit of a backstory if that's okay, because that explains
Yeah.
where it comes from and it gives a bit of my history as well. My first business was 28 years ago, as I became a physiotherapist. I started a physiotherapy business, and what I noticed was, I was busy, got clients, very happy, left a job I hated, stuck in it for years while I was training. And then I transitioned, and I actually, when I left the office, I did the William Wallace nonsense and shouted freedom as I left. And so I was really happy, earned a lot more money. Things were going great. But unfortunately, my head got turned by something I noticed, which guided me for the rest of my career, which was people came in real pain. They were in, real pain. They hurt themselves and they couldn't work, or they couldn't pick up their kids. They couldn't do their activities, So they were motivated enough to come and see me, spend money, travel, all the things to get better. So when I used to be working with them, I would coach them, and I would say, do these exercises, do this stretching, stop doing this, stop playing rugby on a Saturday while you're messed up. And I noticed something that fascinated and puzzled me was that many people took my advice in between sessions and got better faster. So they were very, very happy. All was good. They referred more people, very happy. But a lot of people didn't do what could help them. And I said, did you do the things I asked? And they'll go, yeah, or, oh, I did it a little bit. And my favorite response was, and they didn't have a clue why they hadn't done it. They hadn't done it, but they didn't know why they hadn't done it. So I just got me thinking, it's just, you're in pain, you can't work, you're losing money, whatever. So you're really motivated, you want to be out of pain, but you won't do the things that could help you. And then it really got me thinking, and I noticed a lot of people did it. And this is why I come up with this number about 40%, and I've seen that sort of number consistently. 40% of people get in their own way chronically, not a little bit here and a little bit there, a little bit of procrastination here, imposter syndrome. 70% of people have imposter syndrome, but I'm talking about 40% that do it to a level where it actually damages themselves, their career, their finances, their relationships, or whatever. And it made me think all those years ago, if we do it when we're that acutely motivated, we are in real physical pain. Mm-hmm. When and where else do we do it? And the answer is everywhere. And it was like, as soon as I switched onto it, I thought, this is fascinating. And that got me really interested in, why do we do it? And if it's so many people are doing it, the good thing about it is it's actually not an accident. Well, it is accidental, but it's not a fluke. There is a reason. There's so many people, millions of people do it to a chronic level, a real damaging level, that there's actually a reason. So that's what I went hunting for. That's what I've been studying. And then helping people turn the thinking off that creates the self-sabotage, the imposter syndrome, the excessive fear of being criticized, judged, the normal stuff you hear, has been, the thing I enjoy most, helping people.
So what are some of those that you did mention them? What are some of the main ways that people self-sabotage, and why?
So it could be any way, shape, or form in any area, context of life. But if we're going for solopreneurs, for example, but could be someone in a company. It doesn't really matter. But in terms of solopreneurs, the three biggest ways to look at it is that they underprice themselves because they don't believe in their value. They underpromote themselves, which is that they don't tell people how good they are, which could be they don't speak up in a meeting, they don't do the challenger sale and tell people, to a prospective client, actually, no, you should be listening to me because I'm experienced at this, and my advice of what you should do is better. So they don't tell clients, how good they are and what they really should be doing, or they don't market themselves, which was my one. When I worked this out, I went, I'm in that 40%. I'm under promoting myself. So I know that from that side, and that I've done it for many years before I realized. And then the third one is we under niche. And I don't think that's a word, but I made it up. But basically, we don't go for the level of client or the level of business that we should be going for. I can't work with that person. I can't work with that company. They're too big. They wouldn't want me. They play it safe and go too low. So they don't understand their value, or they're fearful of rejection, or whatever the mechanism in their thinking is. For most solopreneurs, is that they do those three things: underprice, underpromote, and under niche. And then the other one that then what we're talking about, the knock on, if we had time, is they stay solo. And all the problems that solopreneurs have, they stay as a solo because they don't want to risk growing their business or expanding it and turning it from a solo work, business to a real business.
Yeah. So there's a lot there. So do you want to tell us something about an example of niching down? Because some people won't really know what you mean by that, and it's a massive one, really. And people try to be a generalist or whatever, and it doesn't stand out. So
yeah.
Do you want to tell us examples, I guess, or case studies or something of somebody that has niched down and what they did?
Yeah. So, I mean, coaches are notoriously bad for not niching down because the human mechanism, if you're any good at helping people change it, you can change a lot of things with the same technologies. There's a lot of technologies out there. But actually, a good example of this is just a client I followed up with. I on the imposter syndrome. I work with people for 4 weeks. That's all I say. 4 weeks. Give me 4 weeks, and you'll deal with it. And what he was an employed person because of the pandemic. He then started his own business. Basically, he got made redundant, so he started his own business, and he was not somebody who was confident in his value, and he had never started his own business. He had never marketed himself, so he had a marketing problem. I mean, he felt arrogant, not saying he was, I'm good at what I do, which, even though he's got the testimonials, even though he's got the proof and the experience, and everybody else says he's good, he's got that testimonials, he's got it on LinkedIn. It was arrogant, and he couldn't say that sort of stuff. So when you clear this excessive self-doubt, and I say excessive because we're meant to self-doubt, it's part of a good decision-making process. It stops us from making bad decisions to doubt. So when we excessively do it, or excessively don't believe in our value, what we then don't say is I'm really good at this. And then if you're not saying I'm really good at this, is you can't say to that person, to those companies, and this is the niching. So the imposter syndrome, the fear of being called arrogant, stops you actually recognizing your own value. And that's why not believing your own value, or having doubts, or it being arrogant, stops you pricing right, stops you marketing, and stops you niching. So he was giving a service which anybody else could give. So he was a commodity who didn't know how to promote himself, or found it uncomfortable promote himself. So he was, he didn't stand out. He was vanilla, and he didn't want to say how good he was. So as soon as he cleared that out of the way, he then said, I'm really good at this for these companies. So then he started creating add-on sales. He differentiated himself, and also he started bringing people on to work for him around the country. So he didn't have to travel as much, didn't have to do as much of the physical work. So he completely changed. And this is a follow-up. I worked with him, I finished working with him 4 weeks ago. So 4 weeks later, he's done all of this and changed his business model in 4 weeks because he actually believed in his own value, and therefore it was okay to tell people. And then the gates were open to say, hey, I'm this good for these people, not in the huge area, these people. And actually, I'm really valuable to people who used to be competitors. And now the competitors are subcontracting to him.
Yeah, so it's like you're working on the whole imposter syndrome and the not having the confidence to promote yourself, and then it ended up teaching him that he needed to niche down, and that's the power of actually, I think, if you are a solopreneur and there's lots of these people out there, and the power of actually talking to somebody like Stephen, and as he said, it can be as fast as 4 weeks. But by kind of forcing you to look at it, all of these things and address all of the things that you never really challenge yourself on, just that accountability, it's massive, isn't it? It makes a massive difference.
Yeah, and I think the imposter syndrome, or fear of being judged, or a fear of failure, fear of loss. I worked with somebody, another example, who he was really under niching, and this was a marketing expert. So marketing was his thing. He was amazingly good at it. That's how I met him, because I did some of his stuff and I employed him as a coach, as a help. And then we got chatting, and I just thinking, I said to him, why are your prices so low? And that's because, and he had a whole business model of helping millions of people, thousands of people, as many people as he possibly could, but he kept his prices really low. So huge amount of complexity, a huge amount of administration and customer relationship stuff. And then we went through it. He came along, we worked on it. And it was because he had been very, very successful when he was young, made a lot of money out the gate when he was very young. And within a year, he'd lost it all. So in his brain, he went, not doing that again. So actually, he put a cap on how much money he allowed him to earn.
Wow.
That's not uncommon. That is not uncommon. Can I give you another example? I don't know if it'd be useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another client who I won't give too much details because of confidentiality, but they were earning good money in what they did, well above average for their industry. But every time they got to a certain amount of money each month, they started sabotaging their sales calls. And now, most of the time when we have a sabotage, any sort of sabotage behavior, even if it's your weight or something else, there's a trigger point when your brain says, no, not letting you. Yeah, it's okay to this level, not yet letting you. So that's why people want to drop the weight. They bounce off, they hit a level and they go, no, they put it all back on again. So there's a mechanism. And the good thing about the mechanism, if there's that sort of repetition and there's a mechanism and there's a reason and you can find it, that's the easy bit. Yeah. So he hit this limit at the same time. And I was listening to him. I was on a program myself with him. I was listening to him, and the coach was giving him advice about, this is what you should do and this is what you do. And I just was like screaming at the computer, listening to this, going, you're completely wrong. The coach is absolutely leading down the wrong place. And I messaged him and said, let's have half an hour phone call. And I asked him a few questions, and we found out it's all from childhood, and it was actually about roast potatoes. It was all about not taking too much food from the dinner table, not eating too much, and therefore don't be greedy.
Wow. And what did he do to stop self-sabotaging the sales?
So we found that, the answer was he laughed. Because when you realize that the reason why he's been sabotaging his sales was because if he went over a certain amount of money, which is just a arbitrary amount of money that he put in his head, it could have been £1,000 more, £1,000 less, but he decided this amount of money was too much, and therefore he became greedy. So the actual solution to it was, you're joking, that's ridiculous, and he laughed. That's when the the system blew. And then we spent more time actually going, well, what do you want to do instead? Or how can you improve? And then we then talked about he needing some help.
Yeah, getting a
in the
sales rep.
business and getting the team, getting the team and to going. And we helped him devise completely new products that he wouldn't have devised before, because that would have made him earn too much money. So all the things he stopped himself doing. But actually, it was more about, you're joking. That's what's been in my head, running my life and my money for the last how many years.
It's pretty
So
deep. Psychological stuff.
Yeah. There's
But
always a reason.
I'll lead us in now from, because we sort of were going that way as well, into solopreneurs and the transition to getting, delegating and getting people, a team around them to help them, and some of the problems and, that are faced by people that try and do that. Do you want to tell us about that, Stephen?
Yeah. There's a saying, you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. Yeah. And solopreneurs who are successful limit their money because they run out of time. Even though they can leverage systems and whatever else, they run out of time and they get very stressed. When I was a solopreneur, as a very proud physio kid, back when I was in my 20s, this millionaire walked in, and as a client, and he said, "I know how much you earn. I know how much you charge. I know you told me how many people you see. You'll never earn any more than that unless you do more hours and put your price up." And he said, "You haven't got a business. You've got a self-employed job." And my ego went from, yeah, I'm in control, I had all that freedom, just went to, damn, he's right. Wow. And that was my first indication of even thinking about what an entrepreneur was. And when solopreneurs need to break into, they run out of time, and you become what I call a business leader. So you're a worker working for somebody else. Second step is wantrepreneur, which we don't want to talk about, but that's when you're trying to be a solopreneur, but it fails. Solopreneur, you've got your own thing, it's working, you're doing well, but you run out of time. That's the biggest problem. Then you go to being a business leader. That's the step when you need a team. And for a lot of people, that's a big step because it can be scary. You can then, how do I employ the right person? How do I move forward? How do I manage them? How do I lead them? So most solopreneurs either come from being a great worker who had a team and said, I can do this better for myself. But boy, do I hate managing people. Yeah. So they go to solopreneur and then they go, I don't want to start managing people again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Most managers across the globe are not trained to be leaders and managers. It's one of the biggest skills. So if you want to, and this is where it breaks the rule, a business leader can make money and time. A solopreneur can make money to a certain level, depends what, how much they charge and whatever clients they can do. But a business leader can create more time because they leverage the skills and the knowledge and the experience of their team. So that's when and then the fabled thing is you become the business owner, you can step out of the business and you can do whatever you like with your time. So if you need more time, you need to embrace leading and managing people. Most of the people nowadays would like to be leaders because it sounds glamorous, but actually the money is in the management. The skill is in the management. If you can be skillful at managing people, then you create more money, you get more time back, you get a work-life balance back. So my advice is to entrepreneurs is, first of all, ask yourself why you haven't got a team. What's really stopping you? Yeah. And the second one is learn to lead and manage 6 months before you hire anybody. So you don't make lots of expensive mistakes, wrong people, or not using them well. And I did that one for many years, so I can put my hands up to it. I did it too.
And what do you do from the get-go for people? Do you have a course or do you have a strategy call? What's the first way that you have contact with people usually if they want help?
They can just have a chat. They book in a call with me, get in touch, and then we'll have a chat about what they need, and then we'll find out what's the right solution for them. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
what's their problem, what's their outcome, what do we need to do first?
Yeah, excellent. And I mean, some of that stuff was really good, like the self-sabotaging, and I think we all do it on some level, and
Yeah,
you never pull yourself up on it unless you get a third party to be be there, and it's just so important. So I'm a big believer in that. And if you want to have a chat to Stephen about that, you probably are self-sabotaging. We all do it. And Stephen has got some really great insight into that. So thanks for coming on the show, Stephen. That was
my
awesome.
pleasure. It's been fun. Thank you.
No worries. And thanks for listening, everyone. And thanks for watching. And I'm going to go, and I'll see you next time.